Mega Magic Bricks Now expose in Mumbai. Government agencies cut down 52 full-grown trees to make way for an elevated corridor. Promised to transplant them, but leave them to rot and show them alive on paper.
Mr. Nimbalkar sir is a honest officer, तो हमारे मुताबिक उनको वापस यहाँ पे आना चाहिए.
अच्छे लोगों का तारीफ होना चाहिए और ऐसे लोग हमारे उल्लासनगर के अंदर आवे तो ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा अच्छा हो सकता है.
And Thane's Ulhasnagar residents go on an indefinite hunger strike after Municipal Corporation Commissioner Rajendra Nimbalkar is transferred. Citizens demand probe and reinstatement of the hero Municipal Commissioner.
I thank your entire team as well, the Magic Bricks team, who has even helped me getting this onto the, just fleshing this up.
And Mega Magic Bricks Now impact Class 10 Mumbai student with learning disability finally given a fair chance after we took up the issue. CBSE board grants prescribed concessions. And toxic foam fails to wake up Karnataka government after Bengaluru. Varthur Lake spews toxic foam onto Whitefields roads. You're watching The Big Story. I'm Amita Balachandra. Before we get to the big story, here's a Mega Magic Bricks Now expose. 52 full-grown trees were cut down to build an elevated corridor from BKC to Eastern Express Highway in the city of Mumbai. The nod to axe these trees was given on the condition that these will be transplanted to another location. But these transplanted trees were left to rot. What's more, on paper, the agencies in question, the BMC and the MMRDA, maintain these trees are still alive. MMRDA has even received money for transplanting these trees. Aishwarya Palaval gets us the special report.
Magic Bricks Now has exclusive information on the trees that were transplanted by the MMRDA 2 years back when the Eastern Express Highway was being expanded. Now, in these papers, we have proof that BMC had given permission to MMRDA to transplant 52 trees in the year 2015. And those trees were to be transplanted here in BKC. Now, in the reports that were submitted by MMRDA, they categorically say that all the trees that were transplanted are alive and healthy. But just have a look around this area and you will see that out of the 52 trees that were being transplanted when the Eastern Express Highway was being expanded in 2015, 40 of those trees are dead. The MMRDA does not even come here and water these plants. Now, we spoke with a couple of activists and they told us that this is a clear case of apathy by both the BMC as well as the MMRDA. Now, keeping this as a benchmark, now there are talks that the authorities will transplant close to 1,000 trees from RA, which is the only green lung in the city of Mumbai, which purifies the air of Mumbai. 1,000 trees from RA will be transplanted into another area. But a look around here will tell you that clearly authorities are not very keen on saving these trees. Now, in 2015, BMC had given permission for 52 trees, and in the report that MMRD had submitted, they categorically show all these trees as alive. Now, Magic Bricks Now came here to do a ground reality check, and what we find out was dismal. Now, another thing to note here is that the BMC had asked MMRDA to deposit 2,000 rupees per tree with them. And if MMRDA can prove that those trees have been taken care of, 50% was being refunded back to MMRDA. Clearly here, none of the money that MMRDA had deposited, which has gone back into the accounts of MMRDA, has not been utilized. Now, the simple question that Magic Bricks Now is asking, what happened to the money? What happened to the promise that was made to the citizens of Mumbai that the green cover will be taken care of, that the trees that will be transplanted from one area to the other will be taken care of? On ground, the reality is extremely different. But we'll not leave it here. We'll go and have a word with the officer in charge in BMC and ask him why the promise that was made has not been kept.
This business of transplantation, it is rubbish, because these 52 trees which we are talking about, these trees happen to be in MMRDA's background, in its own backyard, where it's easily they can monitor it and protect it and nurture it, but they have failed to do that. That's the insensitivity which the MMRDA has displayed over the years. I request that there should be an audit of all the agencies who have destroyed the trees over the last 10 years or 15 years. You will find that it's a huge scam. And this myth of this so-called transplantation, this word transplantation needs to be done away with. You cannot transplant trees. You do not have the expertise to do it. You do not have the funds to do it. You do not have the funds or commitment to look after a tree. If you are going to spend 35,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees on a tree, then you can say maybe. And that kind of compassion or that kind of valuation doesn't exist in our system today. So it's a failure. It's a complete failure.
In the meantime, we got in touch with both the BMC and the MMRDA for an official response for this apathy that has left nearly 52 trees dead. Despite giving them 3 days, we have not yet received any response. Moving on now onto the city of Bengaluru, onto the dying lakes of Bengaluru. First, it was Bengaluru Lake, and now it is Varthur Lake. Toxic foam is bubbling out of Varthur Lake yet again and spilling over onto the adjacent National Highway. Residents allege that the situation is getting worse with every passing day. Shrija gets us more details.
One of the biggest water bodies in Bengaluru is frothing yet again. Only this time it is the Varthur Lake. As you can see right behind me, the foam that has been spilling onto the roads has been making pretty difficult for both the commuters as well as the pedestrians to pass on this particular Varthur National Highway number 35. Also, what we understand from the residents is that even though an expert committee was formed by Mahendra Jain, the Urban Development Department, the additional chief secretary, almost 3 months ago, they had in fact come up with the long-term measures as well as the short-term measures, being installation of aerators as well as STPs. The first step, that is the stopping of sewage water flowing into this very lake, has not been taken. In fact, no action has been taken so far against people who has been letting out the sewage water still flowing into this very lake. Also, what we understand from the residents is that the stench emanating from this very lake has made it pretty difficult, unbearable to live in this very stretch of road. Also, what we understand is that very recently in the budget, the Karnataka budget, CM Siddaramaiah had clearly mentioned that they are going to allocate at least 42 crores for the development of 10 lakes. Also, there was no clarity on, especially as far as the Varthur and the Bengaluru Lake is concerned. In Bengaluru, Shrija for Magic Bricks Now.
Bengaluru Lake, as per the government directions, we have invited the tender. Short-term measure tenders we have invited. 4 participants have participated in the bid. Out of that, 3 have been selected, and we have asked them to give their financial quotations within 2 weeks. Once it is given, then we will evaluate it and finalize it. Again, whatever the procedure what we have followed for the Bengaluru Lake, same will be continued for the Varthur. Yeah, that has been care has been taken by the BWSSB, and according to their plan, by April they are going to treat around 450 MLD, and balance 100 they are going to divert it.
On the big story, we have Sridhar Pabisetti joining us on the phone line. Sridhar, welcome to the show. First of all, this is extremely upsetting. We've been talking about Bengaluru and Varthur Lake for a long time now, and the government is still taking time to wake up because 3 firms have been shortlisted. We've just heard that from the BDA. But how soon can the government take action?
Well, as far as the tenders are being described by Mr. Nayak, these are for installation of aerators and deweeding. Okay, so those measures, even when completed, will not help us for the solution as far as the frothing is concerned. For frothing, the real measures are about looking at the sewage inflow and how do you reduce the sewage inflow. So that is the key thing to go into. So BWSSB has to expedite the projects as far as sewage, treatment is concerned. And I think that is something that one of the projects has also got delayed as we speak. And what was supposed to get commissioned in April is likely to get commissioned in July. So I think some of the expedition is required in the BWSSB projects. And that wherever government can help should step up and intervene.
So Sridhar, like you mentioned, untreated sewage is a big problem. But at this point in time, are you saying that the onus lies on the BWSSB?
As far as the sewage reduction, there is one part of responsibility that's with BWSSB. The second thing is also the identifying the frothing and the extreme stench that emanates from there. Is it because of any industrial pollutants or not? Is something that the KSBCB has to really give, the reason of what is the reason of this frothing. Is it only domestic? Is it only phosphorus? Or is it anything else? So that is something that Pollution Control Board has a lot more responsibility to chip in with.
Okay, we have Nasir Hussain of the Congress Party also joining us, but very quick question to you, Sridhar, before I go to him. The biggest problem with this froth is that accidents take place. Now it's spilling on to Whitefield Road as well. According to one of the reports from Jan 2016, 15 people have been injured and 3 people have already died on Varthur Main Road. How important is it for the government to clean up that mess right now?
I think the only message I have for Mr. Nasir Hussain is to try and get the government to interact with BWSSB and see what is the cause of delay of one of the STPs. The STP should have been commissioned by April or June, and now I think it's going to go to July, and we are not sure of the new timelines. So making sure that BWSSB STP treatment capacity increases to the full capacity as soon as possible is one big responsibility. The second thing is also kind of make sure that we understand the cause of this huge amount of frothing that happens in Bengaluru and Varthur Lakes, and eliminate any chances of industrial pollution being the cause of it. So
Absolutely.
These are the two responsibilities that I think we all should work together with.
Right, let's also get Nasir Hussain into the conversation. Mr. Hussain, at this point in time, you heard Sridhar tell us that the fact that 3 firms have been shortlisted is not going to serve the immediate purpose, which is clearing the foam, which will eventually cause a lot of accidents. So is there anything being done there? Is the state government getting the BWSSB to quickly act?
Sir, I think I would not be in a position to tell you exactly what the BWSSB is trying to do there, because as I had mentioned in my earlier interactions on your channel, that the state government has stepped in and they have prepared an action plan, and they have promised to the people of Bengaluru that they'll get this thing done, and even in the recent budget, funds have been allocated for this. I really don't know. I'm not qualified.
What's the action plan that the state government will be taking up? What are the immediate measures?
No. I really don't know, and I'm not very qualified because it's a very technical thing. If there are any such measures which can at least give some temporary sort of an solutions to this problem, I don't know if they are really there. I'll have to really check up with this.
Okay, fair enough. But is there a timeline at least that's been drawn up, Mr. Hussain? Because once the monsoon season begins, then it's going to be extremely difficult because these sort of incidents are only going to increase.
I think for that, see, the government can always try and see that these kind of incidents that doesn't repeat or occur in that area, because we have a track record of accidents happening there, and I think as you yourself mentioned, a couple of casualties have also taken place. But I think that part can be taken care. But I don't know if the entire lake revival or if the entire problem can be solved on a temporary basis. For that, I think it will take some time. The government has chalked out a plan, and definitely we'll see, because they have promised to the people that both this Varthur, Bengaluru and a few other lakes will also be taken care in the next 1 year's time.
Okay, Sridhar, let me also ask you this. We know that an 18-member committee was set up. Short-term, long-term recommendations were also drawn up. But now 3 firms have been shortlisted, as the BDA rightly mentioned. And the BDA is the agency which is looking after rejuvenation of both Bengaluru and Varthur. So tell me this. Right. The short-term recommendations that the 18-member committee has put up, will that be taken care of first? Do you think?
So being part of the expert committee, I would like to clarify and bring the thing into perspective. So the point number 1 is that point number 1 is that the short-term of the many short-term measures identified, the tenders being called for is only for 2 items. That is, for de-weeding, as well as second is for aerators. These are the only two things that are being tendered out right now as we speak. The real challenge is there is no action plan as far as the other items are concerned. If Mr. Nasir Hussain is privy to the timelines and commitments that have been made for all the other action items, at least that has not been put in front of the expert committee. It would really be good for all of us to know what are those timelines if it's been decided in the government.
Let's also get Nasir Hussain on this. Like Sridhar mentioned, there were a couple of short-term and long-term recommendations that were drawn up. Let me point out a couple of short-term recommendations. One's regular harvesting of macrophytes, stopping dumping of municipal solid waste, which comes under the purview of the BBMP, surveillance cameras, ensuring free passage of water, which again comes under the BBMP. So you have different agencies taking care of these things, and only for two things, that is reweeding of the lake and installing aerators in order to increase the dissolved oxygen level in the water body. These two things tenders have been called out for, but are you looking at the rest of the recommendations as well?
No, I think the government is must be surely looking at all the recommendations that have been made by the expert committee. I don't know, but short term is, I don't know how short term it will be. Will it be very soon where we can see that that we can at least stop this froth coming there and these things? And I think the two things which you were mentioning, one is the CCTV cameras, the other is the piling of garbage by the people in that lake. And those two aspects, I think the government or the BBMP should take care. Even if they have not been recommended, also I think these are small things which can be taken care because these are generally done on the day-to-day basis. On the long-term issues, I will have to really check, because two issues you say it have been tendered. The other issues, why they are not tendered? If they are not tendered, is it because of some technical issues, or it is still in the planning stage? I'll have to really check up. Maybe in a day or two I'll get back to you.
Sridhar, here's what concerns me. There is lack of clarity on what the action plan is from the state government itself, whether it will involve all of the agencies involved, because it's not just the BDA, it's also BBMP, the UDD, BWSSB, all of the agencies that have to come together to revive these two lakes.
Absolutely. So if you look at it, the action plan, the expert committee recommendation is a very scientific document and a very, very simple document to understand. And we have identified all the set of steps that can really rejuvenate both the lakes in the most efficient manner. And it's just a 30-page document. Anybody can read, anybody can digest this. And the real ask from the government is to apply its mind and make sure that they have a timeline and a budget and a process of achieving all the short-term and long-term wishes. And that is somewhere we see the lacking in the government coordination.
Okay, Sridhar, I'm running out of time. Out of time. Very quickly tell me this. Considering there is lack of clarity, we don't know how soon the government is going to take up things in the city to revive these two lakes. What is the need of the hour at this point?
The need of the hour is for the government to make a chief secretary-led committee, or at least somebody who has the responsibility and authority over all these agencies, to quickly put the timelines against each of those action items that we have put, and to say what might be the tentative budget that has to be allocated for. Even if you look at the Karnataka state budget, the sad part is there is no commitment on what amount is going to be given for Bengaluru and Varthur Lake.
Absolutely. We need some sort of commitment from the state government. We need timelines, we need budgets for short-term and long-term recommendations, because we cannot let this spill over to the monsoon season, because then the situation is only going to get worse. We're going to keep a very, very close watch on this on Magic Bricks now, and regularly bring this to the notice of the state government, at least in the state of Karnataka. Moving on now from this story, shocking incident from Mumbai, where a 27-year-old woman from Bhiwandi was allegedly gang raped by two men in a bid to escape from a South Mumbai building where she was locked up. The victim sustained serious injuries. Right now she's undergoing treatment in the JJ hospital. Both the accused have been nabbed by the police. Richa Sharma gets us more details.
27-year-old lady who had come from UP to Bhiwandi with a village mate of hers, Santosh Kanodia, in search of livelihood, and which she was promised by her village mate, was raped by Santosh Kanodia at his residence in Bhiwandi for over a week, after which Santosh brought her to his friend's house in Paidhuni yesterday night, that is on 16th of March, where she was again raped by at least 2 to 3 men, which were the friends of Santosh Kanodia, and one of them was Farooq Khan, who has been arrested by Paidhuni police station in the case of raping this 27-year-old woman, who has been admitted to JJ hospital as while trying to escape the building in Paidhuni, she fell at around 4 a.m. into a building duct with injuring not just her head but also incurring a few injuries, and also now she is in a semi-conscious state and admitted to JJ hospital, where the doctors are trying to stabilize her currently after this incident took place. Now the police states that both these accused have been arrested, as well as section 376D as well as section 341 and 5062 of IPC has been lodged on them, and moving forward the police will carry out their investigation in this matter and try to find out how Santosh managed to bring this 27-year-old woman all the way from UP to Mumbai with the promise of livelihood, and we will keep tracking this case moving forward. This is Richa Sharma for Magic Bricks Now.
Moving on now to a mega Magic Bricks Now impact after we reported how a class 10 student with multiple learning disabilities was denied special concessions during board exams. CBSE forced to take action in less than 24 hours. The student has now been issued a letter granting all the necessary concessions, including extra time and a scribe to write the exams. Richa Sharma gets us the latest.
In what can be seen and said as a major and mega Magic Bricks Now impact, a 10th standard student of a CBSE board student of a South Mumbai school who was suffering and is suffering from learning disabilities of dyslexia and dysgraphia has finally been granted with a permission letter of a concession of time for all the exams moving forward that is going to happen starting from 22nd of March. Now the mother of the student in this case is elated and happy, as well as relieved that finally after a whole year of struggle running behind the school authorities, the board as well as the hospital authorities for granting and taking a permission letter from the board, finally this has happened. But at the same time, no writer's provision for the child has been mentioned in the letter so far, but the mother is still hopeful that she can turn around things and she can provide a writer for her son as well. So moving forward, we will always track such stories and see that if in such situations the board will be more sensitive and they will show some consideration for such students who suffer from learning disabilities in the future as well. This is Richa Sharma for Magic Bricks Now.
I am relieved as if at this moment, and I just wished this would have been done long ago. And basically, I'd wish that no child would suffer like this as like my child suffered. And the letter does state that the time concession is being granted to him. Is as per the paper, hours of paper. For the rest of the papers, yes. The writer's provision was to be provided, but somehow I was told that it is in the parents' hand and it's not the responsibility of the school. So, although till date, I have not, I didn't find any writer for my son, but at least as of now, I've got the letter granting my son the, permission, the concessions, at least of the time extension. So I'm fine with that. I would like to thank the HRD minister for all the efforts what he's given. I thank Mr. Dr. Shetty also for taking this vigorous step. The both of them who has taken the vigorous step very quickly. I thank your entire team as well, the Magic Bricks team, who has even helped me getting this onto the, just fleshing this up.
That's a wrap on the big story here on Magic Bricks. Now stay with us.